And hello there. Welcome to the Let's Talk Fishing podcast. My name is Jay Angel. Merry Christmas, guys. This is going to be the last podcast before Christmas. I am very excited about this one. I love doing podcasts like this. I have a father and son fishing team here, Dan and Joe Morgan. Man, Joe's like 15 years old, going to be 16 in a few days. And he's already known as the Hammer. You know, the Hammer that's a name that my friends and I, throw back and forth at each other when they catch a good fish. This guy's just known as the Hammer. How you doing tonight, Joe?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. You know what? You had a fantastic season out there. Why don't you tell us what did you fish and who did you fish it with?
I fished with Wayne Tomas, and he was the Hudson Valley Bass Anglers. And I was like really excited because one day after school, I was just like chilling out, and then mom and dad were on the phone, and I came out, and he was like they were talking to each other, and he asked me, "You want to fish the Hudson Valley Bass Anglers with the guy who gave you carp sandwiches one day we were out fishing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." And I didn't know it was gonna be like turned out this great.
Tell me how great did it turn out?
Turned out amazing. Third place out of 10, 11 teams. Felt great.
So you turned out third place in the Hudson Valley Anglers. Wow. That's fantastic, And tell me, what was the biggest stringer you brought in this year?
24 and a half pounds with a 6-pound lunker on the Mohawk River Lock 6.
24 pounds. And for those of us who don't know, I'm sure everybody knows, but how many fish is that?
5 fish.
5 fish, 24 pounds, folks. 5 fish, 24 pounds. I fished a lot of tournaments in my time. I have never. we have a couple of comments already. My good buddy Cajun Rob fishing. Cajun Rob's great to see that you're up and about. Cajun Rob got hurt last weekend, on the job, and he says great guests. And Roy Widgeon is the owner of a kayak fishing magazine. So we have a couple of celebrity guests here, guys. They're both watching you.
Nice.
But 24 pounds. Rob, what do you think? 24 pounds. 24 pounds, Rob. Rob fishes a whole lot more tournaments than I ever have. I think Rob fishes like more tournaments in 1 year than I would fish in like 5. How many tournaments did you fish last year, Joe?
20.
Around that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 5,
20?
6 midweeks.
5 or 6?
Right around 17-ish.
17. 17. And Cajun Rob said outstanding that he called you a hammer there, Joe the Hammer. No, this was not from a kayak. You were not fishing from a kayak, were you, Joe?
No. Fishing out of a skeeter.
A skeeter. Yeah, I've fished out of a lot of skeeters. As an outdoor communicator, I fish with a lot of different people. And yeah, I've been in a lot of skeeters. Brenton Zitka said to have almost a 5-pound average is amazing. Tell me about the fishery out there in the Hudson. Is a 5-pound fish like something that's unusual? Is it like common, but not like every time you go, you're not going to catch a 5-pounder? Let's put this in a little bit of perspective.
So usually during like the summertime, if you catch a 5-pounder with like the limit of smallies or little largies, you're going to be up there. But this year during the fall tournaments, like at least one boat had a 5-pounder every tournament. It was just crazy.
But not 5 of them.
No, not 5 of them. We had 2 the first tournament we fished.
Didn't Wayne tell me you caught most of those fish too?
I think I had all 5.
Had all 5. My good. Okay. This is a great segue into my second question. I want to talk presentations with the guy who caught all 5-pounders.
So pretty much it's a chestnut fishery, which is like just heavy vegetation on the surface. And I would normally just pitch it in and just like have my rod tip up and feel it. But that wasn't really doing anything. So I would always just watch my line drop down, and I would see him sometimes hit it, and I would lift up, and it's usually heavy, and I would set the hook. So I just pretty much went with that every day or every time. Just pitch in, watch my line. If it was heavy, I would just swing. And Wayne was
Okay.
always right there with the net.
What did you have on your line?
I'll be your prop man.
It's a blank check Sweet Beaver from Reaction Innovations with a 4-aught Gamakatsu heavy hook and a 3/4 weight and a bobber stop. And we were using 20-pound FC Sniper Line fluorocarbon on a 7.6 heavy action cash on icon rod, which
Cash on.
you can feel the bite like every time. It was great.
And I didn't catch that. What kind of line were you using?
20-pound fluorocarbon from FC Sniper Line.
Okay.
Sunline.
So you didn't have a fluorocarbon leader. You're just using straight fluorocarbon.
Straight fluorocarbon.
And were you punching?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're punching through a weed mat. Okay, so you're really close to the boat. Man, can you imagine? Holy
Yes. Jay, do you have hyacinths in where you are?
Some places they have nothing but hyacinths.
Right. So water chestnuts are like those. So you get a surface vegetation with the caverns underneath. So you just got to break through the top, and then it's all the caves that are down underneath it.
Oh yeah, man, you have to really know what you're doing, because you have to be able to look at the vegetation there and kind of find. Well, down here, what we look for is a change in vegetation, a change of this much in the bottom, where the bottom goes from here to there, down like 6 inches can hold fish, because you can't see that on your locator because of the weed mat. And you're only having, 18 inches of water underneath those hyacinths usually. There's a lot to punching. There's a lot to punching.
Same. It's mud flat stuff, and it's usually 2 to 4 feet deep underneath those chestnut mats.
Man, and why don't you tell them the bites don't feel the same as they would bite if you're just throwing that into open water and working for smallmouth, for instance. The bites feel a lot different than when you're punching, don't they?
Yeah, because like most of the time you would feel like a hard like thump or a tick. Most of the time with flipping chestnuts, I just it just feels heavy for me. Never really a bite. Usually once in a while I'll get a like tick or something, but most of the time it's just straight heaviness.
Also, sometimes what I've noticed is when I'm letting it down, all of a sudden it feels light.
Yeah.
And, you find yourself way up here usually, and all of a sudden it feels light, and so you grab it with both hands, and you're reeling up here. And I know that's not proper technique, but in the real world,
they catch you by surprise sometimes.
Here we go. Amanda Sophia Morgan said, Jimmy Morgan here watching on the wife's Facebook. I taught the hammer everything he knows.
Well, I don't know about that. You could tell Jim that I taught him everything he knows. That's one of my nephews that I started fishing with Jim when he was about this man's age, a little younger, about probably 10 or 12.
And JCX Fishing, that's a good friend of mine who also does a podcast known as Co-Angler Corner. That's John Stoutinger. He said, good evening, guys. Ed Cowan is even here. Ed Cowan, guys. Bassmaster Championship qualifier, Ed Cowan.
Ed was the guy that I would look up to within the New York State Federation Trail and all that stuff going on. I was just behind him, watching him go up and do all that stuff. And I really enjoyed watching your podcast with him.
Oh, man, that was a fun podcast to do, because Ed Cowan the guy's forgotten more than I'll ever know about fishing. I've been fishing for 50 years, man, and he said, I love punching, chestnut towing, and recovery. That's what Ed Cowan said. And JCX Fishing came out again and said, Dan is a hammer on Champlain and Oneida. So John Stoutinger must know you, Dan.
Well, let's just say more people tend to know me than I know. And, when you're up on the stage and you're holding the first place plaques up, a lot of people know. But I have met John on the tournament trail. And even Joe and the other son, Daniel, mentioned that, Dad, you can't go anywhere without somebody knowing you. And I said, well, if you do this long enough, You know, at one time, State Federation had 1,000 anglers, 1,000 members. So
There you go.
pretty substantial here in New York.
That's so much fun. It's so much fun when you walk into a bait store and people know you. You know, I love that. So presentation. So you like punching. What else do you like to do, Joe?
Mainly just flipping walls, rocks. Love the spinner bait too. Spinner baiting is
Spinner
just
baits.
especially this year, like spinner baits have caught me not a lot of giant fish, but a lot of like solid keepers. And it's just like I love it.
Okay, so you like putting a slip tail on back of your spinner baits, you know?
Yep. And a big blade for the bigger bite.
Go big. Makes a big thump, 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 thump.
Yes.
Boy, I love that. And Ed Cowan also said Dan has a great show. And his boys can fish. So why don't we talk about that, Dan, a little bit about the Mr. HV Bass?
So I started filming on YouTube when these kids were younger, and it started with I just wanted to make memories. All right. So I just, you know, thank goodness for a company like YOLO Tech that made the camera mount for the back of the boat that made it really easy. You can imagine when you're flipping chestnuts, it's hard to hold a chesty, right? So it's hard to get it. So we started with the camera on the back. And I just started filming all day. I would just let the cameras run for 8 hours and just see what I got. And then I started editing them down, and I'm creating memories so my nephew in Wisconsin can watch, my sister upstate New York can watch, and other friends and family all over can watch. And then I started going places, and you talk about being recognized. You know, we take the kids to a tackle store, and people start going, "Hey, we watch you on YouTube." It just happened this weekend at Bass Pro Shops. You know,
wow,
somebody just approaches and starts doing that. And what happened is, as I would go out to these tournaments, more and more people were coming up to me saying, "Man, love the show. You got to keep at it." You know, we try to keep, you know, we don't want nothing negative. We just want positives. And, you know, every once in a while you'll lose a big fish and, you know, you might have a split second of a negative, maybe some colorful language once in a while that we try to bleep out. But I don't hide nothing. If you watch it on YouTube, you will see everything that we do. We don't hide debates. We don't blur the background. So, you know, we fish the Hudson, Candlewood Lake, Oneida Lake, Champlain, the Mohawk, you know, where he caught all his fish. I haven't edited that video yet, but Wayne Tomasi did, and it's on his channel. But you'll see that 24.5-pound bag come in. And it's going to be a kind of a mix with my other son fishing with somebody else. So I kind of mix it up. And it's just been a wonderful thing with a lot of support. I couldn't believe how many people just really enjoy just watching us go fishing. You know, and that to me is what it's all about. Just go out and just go fishing.
Actually, you just mentioned Wayne. Wayne just commented. He said, "I have had the best year of fishing ever from the backseat of my boat. I got the best seat to watch him and feel his hook sets when the boat jerks."
When you watch the videos, Jay, you'll see that his feet usually come up off the carpet about that far when he's setting the hook in those chestnuts. But
well, you East Coast guys,
that was awesome.
I'm feeling a little bit like I'm talking to a young Ike.
Yeah.
You know, that guy, what? Hey, man, hook sets are free.
So one of the things you'll see in the videos, and I've had guys comment on this, is don't your kids ever get excited? And I go, well, listen, you know, I've had these guys catching 5-pounders since they were 7, 8 years old. So they know how to contain themselves, where I've seen grown men just absolutely lose it in the boat and almost cause them to lose the fish. But trust us, you guys may not see like real, like that Ike and Ellie kind of excitement, but man, right here in our hearts, boy, they're thumping, they're pumping, and we're just having a blast, and we are excited.
Man, but I'll tell you what, and you can back me up on this. When you get to be our age and you're out there and you're worried about how you're going to pay all these medical bills and college costs and insurance for 5 or 6 people, both medical and auto, and all of a sudden you hook into a fish, all that stuff melts away and the excitement it's overwhelming.
I've managed a Bobcat dealership. I don't know if you know Bobcat Compact Equipment for about 12 years now. I've been in it for almost 40 years. But you are absolutely right. As soon as you feel that thump, everything just disappears.
Yeah. And Wayne just said, ask him what his favorite number is.
4 pounds. 4. Always try to get 1 4-pounder per tournament.
2 thumbs up for that one. 2 thumbs up, Joe. And Wayne, that was an excellent question. And JC
So-
Fishing, my buddy John just said some New York legends showing up. You know, Wayne and Ed.
So one comment I'll make about Wayne, and I hope he doesn't hate on me for saying this, but I got to fish with Wayne, and I hope I can actually get it out. But I got to fish with Wayne after he spent the year fishing with Joe, and he told me that Joe gave him a grandfather experience like he'll probably never be able to get somewhere else. You know, he is a grandfather and he's got the grandkids, but to be able to do that like that, and Wayne being Wayne, it took him about 7 minutes to spit that one sentence out. that's how teared up he was over it. And then he looked back later on in the day and he goes, "That need not be on camera, right?" So we're gonna keep that in the archives, and we'll see what happens.
He also said that Joe told him he learned math from fishing, not from school.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, I have 16.64 pounds. I know I'm not going to win with less than 18.5.
It's amazing that when I weigh a fish, he'll tell me when I announce out the weight, he goes, "Oh, that was 1.25 pounds, Cole." And it's just when you do it a lot, you get good at it.
Yes, exactly. You know, I can, being a outdoor communicator for so many years, I can look at a picture. That's a 19-incher. I don't care how you played with perspective like this. That's why I've learned being taking pictures for magazines. I put the fish on my chest and make sure that people see that my arms are not out like this. It's just my style.
Yeah, we all do it.
Just my style.
Inadvertently, we all photograph them that same way, and for me, it's just the memories, right? I enjoyed watching one of the videos one time because I'll preview them in my living room and I'll watch them. And I remember my son Daniel saying, "Wow, Dad, I forgot about that day." And I go, "And that's why we're doing this. That's why."
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to get a little sentimental here. I thanked God I had so many pictures of my dad and I's fishing trips when he passed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the memories
all over.
It's like you win tournaments, the money spends, all that stuff goes away, but those pictures, those photographs, and it forces you to just remember something that might have gotten clogged up in your day-to-day life.
Exactly. That's in the end, all you're going to have are the memories.
Yeah.
That's people ask me, why did you fish so much when you were young? Don't you think you're going to have time when you're old? I'm like, I'm 55 now. I'm in horrible health. I'm glad I fished so much when I'm young. And Joe, my hat's off to you, buddy.
Fish every day you can, son.
Every day you can, man, because you're not guaranteed anything. But what you're doing right now, and man, the fact that you're winning these tournaments and just doing so well, that's fantastic. We have Mike Schmidt Jr. here. He said Wayne, Dan, and others did a lot for youth fishing back before it was even known to the world like it is today. I thank you for that. Back in the 90s when I was even younger than Joe. You guys got a fan, Mike Schmidt Jr. Thank you very much for your comment there, sir.
Wayne started our youth club way back in the mid-90s, and he became president of the New York State Federation and was leading into that youth organization throughout the whole time. So back then, well before I had these guys, I volunteered and did a lot of work with that youth stuff. And now that I have my own, they kind of get the front row seat. So I've done it for the first 20 years. I did it with everybody else's kids. And then the next 20 years, I'm doing it with these guys.
Exactly.
It's good stuff.
And then we have a guy named Vin Prodell. He said, "I will attest to that." And Vin was probably just attesting to what Mike Schmidt Jr. had just said. So yeah, we have some good fans here. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate each and every one of you who comments, because comments just that make a podcast so much easier to do, so much better. I don't have any problem doing podcasts. I just enjoy them so much more when I have audience of participation, and I have a couple of great guys to interview, like the Morgans. So let's talk a little bit to you, Dan. What is your favorite presentation up there in the great Northeast?
These guys are a carbon copy of me. So if I'm not throwing a jig, a spinner bait, or this flipping bait into the water chestnuts, I'm not doing much of anything, right? So we live 20 minutes from the Hudson River. We're about an hour from Candlewood Lake. That's probably the best lake to fish. So I just love pitching and flipping. I just love that when that bait goes down and you get that little thing. And, you know, he learned at a young age, the big ones, you don't feel them. They just make the heavy, a little movement. They just engulf that bait. If you could feel it, I mean, I don't know how it is down there where you're from, Jay, but if you feel that thump, don't set the hook in the Northeast because it's probably a pike and he's going to take all your bait. Or it's a little fish. But I'm a flipper by heart. I just love it because that's what the Hudson River taught me. And when they're on a spinner bait, that's just my two favorites.
That's usually the only way I can tell.
You see my boat in the fall. Sorry. You see my boat in the fall, you'll see 4 rods on a deck, 3 jigs and 2 spinner baits, or 5, 3 jigs, 2 spinner baits.
That's usually the only way you can tell, you know, when you're fishing down here during spawning season, if you've hit a bed, because, you know, you're flipping and all of a sudden you see your line go really fast. And, you know, and you're reeling as fast as you can. Damn spawners, you know. It happens so fast, but then, you know, you got to stop here and maybe put on a little finesse, maybe a stick bait of some kind with a smaller hook and smaller line. And it's very hard to use small line down here because you don't ever know if it's one of these or, you know, we have some really big fat fish down here, you know, just you know, and you set the, and they all bite the same during spawning season, you know.
Yeah, they just move off. Jay, finesse fishing for me is 16-pound test fluorocarbon. That's when I start finessing them.
Well, remember, I'm from the Northland, where we have a lot of really clear water. I cut my teeth on places like Green Bay, where, you know, super clear water. A lot of the smaller lakes up in northern Michigan and northern Wisconsin are super clear. You just can't do that there. You need smaller baits.
Well, and
you know, I know people are going to argue, but, you know, and I have caught them on great, you know, I've caught them fishing for muskies with great big things that look like the ends of brooms, you know.
When I was teaching these guys young, you know, because we'll fish the St. Lawrence Oneida Lake and we'll get down to 6-pound test drop shots and things like that. But when these guys were young, that bait right there, Dave Dorman,
oh yeah,
on Candlewood Lake or Cayuga Lake, and his son Tony introduced us to just a Bass Pro Shops tender tube, and you could catch a fish anywhere in New York State with that. And I used to tell people, if you just simply tie that bait on and just throw it at every possible thing you could throw at, you are going to catch some fish. And we've caught some big. And my biggest fish ever was a 7-pound, 15-ounce largemouth caught out of Candlewood Lake in a tournament on 8-pound test line and a little 1/4-ounce tube jig.
You know, man, we have a whole bunch of comments we have to catch up on here. JCX Fishing says Wayne doesn't get enough credit. Up here we have, shoot. Ed Collins said if he hadn't fished with Wayne Saturday, that he would have missed this show. He really likes to ride in his own boat. Brenton Zitka, that you love. JCX Fishing says Dan was a hammer from the back as well. And JCX Fishing, John Stoutinger is a co-angler. He has a podcast called Co-Angler Corner. Wayne says that Joe is really a good, safe bass boat driver. Also, Hudson River can be tough at times, but he handles it really well. So you got another compliment there, Joe.
I saw him.
Yeah.
He taught me pretty much everything you need to know.
You know, you set them up safe, right? You got the life jackets on, you got the kill switch, you set them up on a run, you got a clear channel, and that's how you teach them. You got to get out there and teach them young. By no means do you just hand them the keys to a 70-mile-an-hour boat and say, have fun, kid, go get them. You know, you kind of start them off young. And my wife, she kind of limited us to 45 miles an hour for the first couple of years. And the first
Yeah.
time you got to crack a boat over 45, the excitement and it just,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
And Ed just made a comment. He said the big largemouth in tidal water in the Northeast eat a lot of white perch. Connecticut River, Hudson, Delaware, Upper Bay, and the spinnerbait is a great bait selection. And you said with those great big, yeah.
That's why we do a white skirt, and I'll put double up and put a little chartreuse flash in there once in a while. But white and silver, that's my baits.
By a white perch, does he mean a crappie?
No, it's actually a perch. So imagine a yellow perch, but it's
Yeah.
silver sided, and it's
Okay.
very spiny, just like a yellow perch.
JCX Fishing said that those tubes don't work in New York.
Yeah. Sorry, John. I didn't mean to let that out totally, but yeah, that'll work. It doesn't matter what body of water you're fishing here.
You know what? First time I ever fished with a tube was on Lake Erie with Dave Maurice from Venom Lures. And, I showed up, I was following around it was like 23 years old. I was right out of the Air Force, just started being an outdoor writer. And man, I came out there and actually the guy from the Professional Walleye Trail said, "Would you like to go smallmouth fishing tomorrow?" I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Dave Maurice is the owner of Venom Lures, and I want you to go fishing with him. We didn't even make it. 25-mile-an-hour winds. We didn't even make it out of the harbor, and we were fishing with his tubes. And I bet you I caught 20 smallmouth on those things. I had never fished with them before. I took those up to Wisconsin. And I fished with a guide up there. It's probably 1997. Yeah, I fished with a guide in Wisconsin. We were floating down this river by my grandpa's house, and he was throwing a Rapala. And I'm like, those Rapalas don't go a foot deep here. And I started throwing a tube. And smallmouth bass. These fish had never seen those things back then. The next year, and every bait store in the area has Venom tubes. That's how damn good they are.
Now I'll really let the cat out of the bag and say you take that same green pumpkin tube like that, and you get it 4-inch flipping style, and you put it in place of that and start flipping the flipping tubes. That will also knock them out in the water chestnuts anywhere within the Northeast.
And Brenton Zitka says he crushes smallmouth on Deer Lake in Minnesota on cray baits and tubes. Sean Miller says, "I'll come out and teach you fishing one day." This family loves fishing and great people, but they don't let me fish with them. The Hudson is in my backyard. Okay. I think you've just been challenged.
Yeah. Listen, as a fisherman who works and has a full-time family and all that other stuff, you could say, weekends are tough. I've only got a few. I do travel the state fishing with a good friend of mine from Scroon Lake, Drew Hanchett. And, we fished the Cash and Rod Tour through the Northeast. So I still kind of use that for my big fix. And then I use all these little ones to get the kids involved and get them going. And I look forward to the day where I'm watching them on the big tournament trail and just let them go out and do their thing. And I'll sit at the weigh-in with the camera.
One thing I would like to talk about is this Mr. HV Bass. Why don't you tell them what your plans are with that? That you need 15 more likes?
So right now we're everybody knows YouTube, right, to get monetized, and it didn't start that we wanted to build a business and get monetized, but hey, a few bucks to help offset the fishing that these guys do would be great. And right now we're standing at 976 and just 24 more, or 974, 26 more subs, and we'll be at 1,000, and then we can get monetized. I've met all other criteria. We've done everything, and I think we saw 28,000 views just this past month. So it's really starting to boom, really starting to grow. And I'd love to get some of that, I don't know, $18.19 trillion that Google's got. If they could just, work a few of those dollars my way, would be great.
Yes. You know what, guys? This is how you can support these guys without sending them a penny. Just subscribe.
Correct.
For HV Bass. It's really a good thing. It's helping out the fishing industry.
Just search Team Morgan Fishing on YouTube, or you just go at Mr. HV Bass, Harry Victor, or Hudson Valley Bass, and you'll find us.
We've got a guy who said that right now, Brenton Zitka. I'll go subscribe now. Rob Caston says he loves Dan's videos and he definitely learns a lot from you guys. So there's 2 votes of confidence right there. And Wayne says that, it's great to watch Team Morgan Fishing on YouTube. So I can't say enough about you guys, man.
We just hit 210,000 views. So we're going to be pretty close to 250,000 views for just as I call it, a Northeastern redneck hillbilly fishing channel.
Well, we got to stick together. Even though I'm a Southern,
It's a tight community. We all do look out for each other. If you got time for stories, we've got thousands of them.
Sure.
My wife comes up on the Hudson every once in a while and brings us dinner, and we'll just float out on the boat in the Roundout Creek, and we'll sit there and eat. And the kids, they were young, they'll start fishing, and we're sitting there eating. My wife's with me, and she doesn't really like to do a lot of boat stuff. But, this boat's idling up, and he keeps looking over at us. And then he just screams out, "Hey, man, I love the videos, love watching them." And my wife looks at me, she goes, "Oh, my goodness, you just got recognized." And Daniel's sitting there, just reaches over, taps on her shoulder, says, "Don't worry, Mom, you'll get used to it." But it's been an overwhelming group of support from the guys out there watching this, and we just absolutely just love doing it.
Well, man, Joe, I wish you the best of luck in your fishing career. Definitely let me know from time to time. Just shoot me a text. Tell me who you are. Something great happens, the next time that you win like 3 tournaments in a row. just let me know. I'm going to follow you guys. I'm going to follow Team Morgan, not just Joe.
It's a true team effort.
Wayne says, "I'm 70 years old, been bass fishing 35 years. Joe and his brother, Dan, don't understand how they have caught more already than I have ever." That's quite a vote of confidence right there.
Well, Jay, what Wayne didn't tell you is this young man, when he was probably 9 or 10, hooked into a 5-pound, 10-ounce largemouth on the Hudson River. And we landed it, and we took our pictures, and we talked about it, shot little video clips. And there's a little clip of it on the link that I sent for you. And, he lets it go, and he says, "All right, Dad, let's go get another one." And I go, "Well, hold on, son. Before you just run off and do that, I know a man that fished this river for 3 years before he even caught a legal bass, and that was Wayne." So I says, "You're not just going to run out and catch another one. You got to understand that this was pretty spectacular that you caught this fish." But you've caught a few more since.
Wow.
What's your personal best?
Then Mike Callier says those boys. That's not bad. Jeez. My personal best is 7 pounds, and I've been fishing a whole lot of years, but I don't fish these fantastic big bass waters like you do.
Ed Cowan may disagree.
Mike Callier says those boys are going to make a major run for the big leagues. Ed Cowan said there's not a lot of on the Hudson on YouTube, and you can learn a lot from Dan's show that will help you on any tidal waters. And that's, tidal waters, it's different. It's a different ball game. You look for moving water rather than, if you can find moving water and hard bottom and tidal waters, you've already put a lot of it together.
How many miles you put on Wayne's boat this year?
But that's down here. That might be different up where you live.
No, it's the same. It's we're all rockwood and vegetation. Wayne commented that Joe put more miles on his boat this year on the Hudson River than he's put in the last 10 years of owning it.
Jeez. John Stoutner said you're going to get 3 subscriptions from his 3 channels. So you're getting support already, guys, And Brent says, "I hope to get my son into fishing like you got your sons." That's
okay. So
fantastic.
if I could just add a little advice there. To get him into fishing, don't force him on him. Just take him and participate with. When I would go out, if the fish aren't biting, we're on the Hudson and it's pretty tough. We would go exploring, go swimming, eat a sandwich, go look at stuff, stop and get ice cream on the way home. Just make it an exciting day and do your best to kind of set them up for success, right? I would get on these places, that I know that this bait right here is going to catch them. And when they were young, I'd throw it out for them and say, okay, just hold it down like this and just start winding. And boy, when they get that thump and set the hook, from that point, they were hooked on. So just, try to work at their speed. If they're not having fun, trust me, they're not going to enjoy it. So just, get them out there and try to work at their speed and do a lot more than just fishing.
That was the mistake I made with my kids when they were young, because I was guiding. I was also tournament. I took, oh, good Lord. Sorry, I just had a connectivity bleep right there. I took myself way too seriously when I was in my 20s. I'm in my 50s.
That's why I'm glad I had them older.
It just doesn't matter.
I like you, was probably a little more aggressive in my 20s and 30s. I would tell them when we're fishing tournaments, hey, the one rule is we can't go swimming until we get a limit. Then we can go swimming. If you're hungry, sit down and eat something. If you're thirsty, sit down and drink something. I wouldn't kind of force it and bang, bang, bang on it. And if we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. And that's what made it fun for them. And they've put some.
That's
fish
why I like taking my kids trolling for stripers.
Let them steer the boat.
Troll for stripers. I just had to sit there and watch. Yeah. Oh yeah. My son would steer the boat. My daughter would sit there and talk to me, and I would watch the rods. And when one went off, I'd have my daughter go get them on his side, and my son go get them on that side. Brenton wants to know, what age do they start tournaments?
About eight to 9. That they would fish with me. Most organizations, as long as it was a father-son, they would allow it. He couldn't team up with you, for example, when he was 8 years old and go fish a tournament, but they were small ones. They were 20, 25 boat midweek tournaments, things like that. We'd never really get into the really good hardcore stuff. And you saw a comment there from Jim Morgan. I even told this young man this year, I said, listen, there's this one open that's, $150+ entry fee, and there's going to be a lot of really heavy sticks there. If you don't mind, I want to bring somebody that's got a little more meat to them, but I think we could have done just as well with you.
And Wayne says that Joe gets a chicken dinner when he wins.
I didn't bring a prop for this, but the other thing, when they're young and you're just trying, and again, you can go on the videos and see it. I've got little clips where I would just power pole the boat and just let them practice casting. Get one of them $34 spools of Berkley Big Game 15-pound test line, and I've gone so far as to respool their reels twice, 3 times in one day on the boat from that one bad cast. That turns into you cut it out with the scissors, but you just learn to just be calm and go through it. And, now they can handle the bait caster better than I can.
And, I've been thinking about what you said, that it was a blessing that you had kids when they were a little older, because I definitely could have gotten my son into fishing a lot more now.
Yeah.
I'm so much more at ease with myself, so much more at ease with fishing. It's just, I don't take things personally anymore. I'm not trying to make a run at the Bassmaster Elites, just like to have fun, And the only tournaments I'll fish anymore are the ones like you guys talk about. There's 30 guys sitting there and we're all friends, and
Yep, they're the better ones. And that's what you'll find. But it's getting tough. There's a lot of competitive tournament trails out there, but the advice to the young parents, just if you want to be a hardcore, Mike Iaconelli, go after it with gusto tournament angler, that's fine. Just when it comes to the kids being involved, just tone it down a little bit.
Turn it off.
Let them spend more time fishing. Right. Just it's okay.
And fish for bluegills, man.
Trust me, this kid's got a little fire in him. He takes it just as passionately, but he definitely, and you'll see it in the videos. You'll see it, how they can control it and just kind of hang on. I might throw a 5-minute temper tantrum for losing a 5-pound fish. These guys throw about a 5-second tantrum and it's over with.
Well, Kellyanne Evert says Joe has also taught adults how to use bait casters. He's a great kid all the way around. Man, you got a lot. Awesome. You got a lot of compliments here, but it's 40 after the hour, guys. So now it's time to do shout outs. If you'd like to thank any organizations, people, companies, anybody you want to thank, now's the time to do it.
Mainly my family. Dad, Jimmy taught me some stuff. Wayne actually helped me out because most of the candlewood stuff I really didn't know that much about, just the spider grub. But he mainly just brought me to the spots and I just caught them there. So it's like,
I've got, I've never really pursued sponsors, but like a lot of fishermen, I love supporting people that do what I call the right thing or try to do something that's great, and I've been with Cash and Rod since 2014. I met JJ Elmer upstate, and he's the one that does the Cash and Rod tour. He's the tournament director for that, and he's also a rod salesman. And I've been working with him since 2014. And just a great story. A guy that started a rod company, Matt Cashin, started a rod company in South Carolina, or maybe North Carolina. I kind of lose the history a little bit. But to make a U.S. made rod company and to start it from scratch is just something to be said about that, right? So it's
Yes.
guys like that make us, get that little bit of fire of just saying, the old American dream of start something like that and kind of do that stuff, So I've always kind of supported those people, even though, I'll act like I'm sponsored by them and I'll push them out there, but it's just because I believe in their products wholeheartedly. I'm reading Wayne's comment.
Well,
he always had a good smile.
Yeah. That's why that wasn't a particularly great comment, and I wanted to just put it up there. That is the exact kind of company I like to back. I back Grant Rods because they're a family-run company. I can call the owner of the company and just talk to him. He can call me and just talk to me. It doesn't even have to be a business call. And Grant makes rods in America. There isn't a whole lot of that being done anymore, and that's just the kind of company I want to back. Small company.
I love rooting for the underdog, right?
Yes.
I've always kind of like been that way. I do it as a career. I work at a Bobcat dealer. Again, I don't know if you know Bobcat compact equipment, but then when you talk about equipment, construction equipment, there's always Caterpillar, right? Caterpillar is that Goliath, and Bobcat was the little Davy that always kicked their butts every month when it come to market share and things like that. So I've kind of grown up always with that Davy and Goliath attitude. And I like it when you start it small and build it slow and make it big. And that's what we're going to do with Team Morgan Fishing.
Team Morgan Fishing, man. You know what? I certainly do appreciate you guys coming on, sharing your story. I really, really, really appreciate you, Joe. I wish you all the luck in the world, and I'm going to help you any way I can. I know
I appreciate it.
I know a lot of people in the sport fishing industry. If you have any questions, let me know. Wayne says Ed says Wayne speaks highly of Joe. You must be so proud.
We're just trying to raise some. We're just trying to raise some good human beings, Jay. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, the world needs more good human beings. The world definitely needs more fishing fanatics. And, I'd like to thank everybody. We got a lot of comments. Thank you so much, guys, for commenting. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to Let's Talk Fishing Podcast, particularly you two. Wayne Tomasi, thank you very much. Ed Cowan, Brett and Zika. Of course, my good buddy, John Stoudinger, Rob Welsh. I had a lot of friends here tonight. They all came on to see you too.
Think about something, Jay, where a 15-year-old and a 70-year-old can find a common bond that's so strong like that. Where else would you get that, right? Other than maybe the arts and, maybe a baseball game or something like that. But to be able to both participate at the same level in the same sport and do well. And jump back a couple of videos, you'll see Wayne catch the biggest bass of his life on Candlewood Lake fishing with Joe. And Joe got to net him 2 big old fish that day. So you were the net man on that day.
I can tell you that's exactly how fishing is, through my teenage years, I was such a handful and such a bad person. The only time my dad and I really ever talked was when we were out on the water together, and we wouldn't talk the whole way there. And then we'd get on the water and I'd start catching fish, and Dad would start asking me, what are you using? How are you doing that? And I think that's why I fell in love with fishing so much. And I just, my whole life, I've never really wanted to do anything else. I don't watch football. but I do watch the Bassmasters.
We're with you, buddy. I really appreciate you having us on. This was a blast. We'll keep you attuned to how things are going, how the other boys making out. And if you ever need to fill in a podcast show, I've got Dan Jr. that's just about as big a stick as this young man right here. And we've torn up some pretty good tournament trails ourselves.
Well, you have an open invitation to have your other son on too.
Awesome. We appreciate that.
I just want to read this. Wayne and Danny have been rooting for the kids fishing for a very long time. I'm proud of my brother and nephew's fishing team.
Nice.
All right, guys. We've come to the end of another Let's Talk Fishing video series. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I'd like to definitely thank Joe and Dan. Man, they just keep coming. Live show at HVBA weigh-in with Team Morgan.
I'm gonna have to get some good equipment and start doing maybe some live shows on the weigh-ins. What I find is typical to any guy, right? We take something that's small and we just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Next thing you know, I don't have support staff. I don't have a camera guy. I don't have an editor. I don't have all that stuff, and I'm trying to do all this on my own. And for those out there, consider sub up, and it takes between 6 and 12 hours to edit a video if you do it good, so we'll try to get some live stuff out this year for sure.
Well, that'd be great. Well, anyways, man, what is it? It's Tuesday night this time. Is it Tuesday night?
It is Tuesday night.
Okay, I lose. This time of the year is just crazy for me. Okay, yeah, it's Tuesday night, guys. I'm not going to go fishing over Christmas, but I am going to go fishing a couple times next week, taking enough time off. And like I say at the end of every show, man, there's one absolute in fishing. You absolutely will never learn anything about fishing sitting on your couch. I'm going to get on my soapbox again here. I run a fishing podcast. I write fishing articles. People read this and watch this yeah, you can pick up some tips from me, but you're going to learn stuff on the water. Get out there on the water and fish. Enjoy your life. Take it from a guy who's almost lost my life a couple of times. You only get to do this once, and there are no guarantees in this life. So get out there and fish as much as you can.
Amen.
Amen. And stick around, guys. Wayne Tomasi just said, take a kid fishing and catch a smile. And Sean Miller said, I'll be the camera guy.
Well, just, there are a lot of tournament competitors that we have that have volunteered to be our camera guys.
If I lived up there, I would too. Because man, I don't catch any fish. I might as well be a camera guy. At least that'd be useful.
Nah, we'd get you out there. We'd show you how to catch them.
You know what? If I ever get up there in New York, I'm gonna have a lot of people take me fishing. I might just do that. I seem to have a lot of friends up there now. Well, I'm going to stay in touch with you two guys, man. With that, I'm going to end. Please stick around, you two. I'm going to end the podcast now. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Let's Talk Fishing Podcast. Again, my name is Jay Angel. Let's Talk Fishing Podcast. I have a big announcement to be made right after Christmas. So the week after Christmas, guys, tune in. Listen to a couple of small changes on the Let's Talk Fishing Podcast. Good night.